Three, two, one. Good morning, good morning, good morning, boys and girls, and how are we doing today? Let me get all the stuff shared around and get the chat live, and we'll start talking about some stuff. Oh, do you hear that crack in my neck? That was 3 days coming. That was glorious. All right, what is it doing? Oh, yeah, getting things shared around. Let's go into the Book of Faces. Let's get a thingy-mabobber here for the doobly-doo. Alright, yeah, there's stuff on Facebook. Cool. Okay, so that is shared on the Book of Faces, and let's share that to my whole thingamabobber there, and let's get a chat popped out. Select all, copy, and chat scroll. Paste. And something went wrong. Huh. Copy. Chat scroll. Properties. Paste. Now the chat is live. I have a few small things I'm going to be doing and talking about today. First off is I'm eating some Oreos because this is the last day before I take the plunge and doing P90X again. I've been trying to get back into it for a while, and I feel like now is a very good time for me to do so. It's beginning of the new year. It's not part of a resolution or anything. My resolutions, we'll talk about that later, is different than losing weight and blah blah blah, all the same normal bullshit that people always say. I have different resolutions. I have maker's resolutions. We'll talk about that later. I just want to lose weight. I want to feel better about myself, and I believe that, being thinner, lighter, more fit is going to help me out a lot better than staying comfortable, especially in today's day and age. Comfort is heavily overrated. And looks like Ken has come into the chats. Morning, bud. Hope you're feeling better. I feel like crap. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. I am feeling significantly better. Last week and the week before were pretty rough. Not gonna lie, it sucked. It really sucked. But I survived, unfortunately. I don't know if I had these on the last time I was here, but these were my little Christmas present to myself. I was wearing contacts for about 6 months, 8 months, somewhere in there, one pair, and that is no bueno. So I think I was starting to get an eye infection in my right eye, so I was very happy when these guys came in. And they have infrared coating on them, which is nice. I'm guessing you got the same flu that everybody else got, huh? Also, these are really nice to have when my whole face was leaking. I didn't have to worry about like wiping all the crap out of my eyes, and accidentally ruining my only mode of vision at the time. So it was nice to just take these off and really get in there and deep clean my face. Yeah, that sickness that is still going around it's fucking brutal. It sucks. I felt like death for like only for like 3 days, so I think I got out of it a lot easier than most people, but oh my god, it sucked. So, projects. First thing, and this is what I think I'm going to be trying to suss out a design for. Is this guy. It's one of those, what the hell do they call them? It's the pretty popcorn bucket. But this was for the War of the Rohirrim. And, I'm going to be doing something with it. Well, Kenny, when I woke up, this morning, I was afraid to stand up because I could not focus. Yeah, that sounds like that sickness that's making its rounds. Very dizzy, very hard to focus, on top of being, on top of all the regular flu symptoms, you're getting that too. They're calling it the flu, but I don't know. This is very drummy. I like that. Yeah, but this is for the War of the Rohirrim. And the cool thing about this is the lid locks. So I'm going to, ideally, I don't know if I'm going to get there, but I want, 2, maybe 3 tiers in here to put shit. Namely, my brushes, my paint brushes that I use for the dyes and for the leather dyes and leather paints. I want this to have all the leather dyes and paints in it, the paint brushes, and the finishes, because they're kind of sitting loose on my desk right now, and I don't want that stuff to spill or whatever. And because this has a locking lid, I think it'd be nice if it does fall over and things spill, at least it's contained. And now I get to drive an 80,000-pound truck down the road. Yeah, that seems completely safe and normal and reasonable if you cannot even walk and stand and focus. Completely reasonable. Please don't kill anybody. For a hot minute I was having to drive box trucks around, and I did not like driving those. So I could not even fathom driving a tractor trailer. I just can't. Not for me. No. A lot of stuff I'll do that most people won't. That is one of them that I just won't do. Won't do it. But yeah, today's the last day before I take the P90X plunge. I figured, there's nothing going on now as to why I couldn't. So why wouldn't I? Right? And that is not one of my resolutions. I don't really do a lot of New Year's resolutions well, by and large, I find them kind of not pointless, but ineffectual, because there's nothing holding you to it. There's no real, like, yeah, they have concrete goals, but they're not something you could easily work towards. So when I make my New Year's goals, I don't call them resolutions. I think that's stupid. I call them goals. And I've always pretty much had the same goals, resolution, or whatever you want to call it, almost every year. 3 unattainable skills. Though the more and more I work towards that, the more and more that's kind of harder to do, because a lot of things are very attainable now. Let's see, Ken, my resolution is to be the same lovable asshole I've always been. Well, you got the asshole part down, I'll tell you that. Mine is to become a member of the 444 Club, which is doing the entirety of the Susquehanna River within 1 calendar year. I want to do it slightly differently and with a slight bit more flair or pizzazz. I want to do it in my own handmade kayak in 1 shot. Because I gotta be extra. So, after I get little man's, I'm gonna say, as soon as spring hits, what I'm going to do, and from then till now, for now till then, rather, I am going to be working on trying to design a hull. I haven't settled on a length yet. I'm somewhere between 12 and 16 feet. I think 14 would be nice for me, because the longer your kayak is, for the most part, the easier it goes through the water. And if I'm going to be taking that long of a journey, I'm gonna want to make things easy on myself. So there's the first requirement. I'm going to use a stitch and glue method, which is going to be basically cutting it out of Luan. I'll probably choose something prettier than just plain Jane Luan. Maybe I'll do Luan for the hull, or get an upgraded version for the hull. You know, my dad did one a few years ago. He did it out of that and then painted it yellow for the main hull, and I think the top was white. You're going through the trouble of making a wooden kayak. Make it stand out. You know? So, anyways, that's where we're gonna go. Maybe I'll do a less pretty wood for the main hull, so I can just, you know, paint over that, you know, put several layers of paint and resin and stuff there, make it a little bit thicker, a little bit more durable. For the top, I want to do something a little bit nicer. Maybe not a lot nicer, a little bit nicer. And because I have to be extra, what I'm thinking is, and this is just me kind of spitballing in my own head, doing some sort of either, because I think I'm still going to use it, make it out of sheet, right? But I think what I'll do is I will either take my laser, or I'll just do it myself with a router and go through and put designs and stuff all over the top of it, because I can. And then, you know, fill all that with some nice resin. Maybe I'll even do like a glow-in-the-dark resin. That'd be really cool, wouldn't it? I think so. But I want the main portal. Usually on kayaks, they're really small and tiny. And I had one, which I forget who made it. I think it was maybe Old Town. It was that Cayuga. Which is, don't get me wrong, it's a great kayak. but I'd always smash my shins getting in and out of it. And if I'm going to be doing this for 6, 7, 8 days straight, I don't want to worry about any of that bullshit. I just don't. Because you're getting out of your boat 3, 4, 5 times a day. If you're doing it for 2 days or 3 days, you'll get rubbed raw, but is it really that big a deal? No. It's not. It's not that big a deal. But if you're doing it for 7 or 8 days, it's going to be a big deal, and I'm going to be very cantankerous about it. So, we're not going to do that. Okay? Okay. And there's also, several other things I need to worry about if I'm going to be filming and doing this whole thing. Primarily is battery life. So I do want to have some sort of a solar panel type design for it, and I want to be able to get my stuff in and out easily and quickly. So I need to figure out, how to mount solar panels to this thing. And I think the portals are going to be much larger, because I'm going to be honest with you, I have a big sleeping bag. I've tried those tiny ones, and nothing fits my shoulders. Like the little mummy sleeping bags, they'll come out to about here on my shoulders. So I usually have to have the top open or one arm sticking out or something. If it's cold, you're going to be uncomfortable. And I sleep in a hammock. Those hammocks are made out of nylon. Nylon on nylon just slips around. You're sleeping in a slip and slide. It sucks. So I got a nice big thick fat canvas one that's wide enough, more than wide enough for my shoulders. I can get inside of it and stretch out and stuff, and it's nice. The only drawback is it's huge. So what I'm going to do is make bigger portals so I can get that in there. I already have a nice, bunch of nice watertight bags fit in there. So there's that goal. That's one. And I think that's attainable. Take a good solid week off from work. Get a hotel up in New York, wherever it starts, and pardon me for that, by the way. Get up there the night before. That way, early in the morning, I can get up, stretch, get all my stuff together, get down to the river, and go. I think that's the way to do it. And then that'd also be crossing off a bucket list item for me. 2. Start metal casting. I want to start doing some metal casting. I think it'll be fun, easy, and it's really just $300 to get into it. I mean, yeah, I need to get, I already have a crucible, so I don't need to worry about that expense. I already have propane tanks, so don't have to worry about that. I just need to get the blast furnace, which realistically I could make my own if I really wanted to, but I don't want to get that far. That's 2. Easy peasy. And I have a lot of ideas for once I start casting. Because of course I do. The amount of messages I get the moment I start filming is obscene. It's like the world forgets I exist. Right until the moment I'm busy. Funny how that works. So yeah. Join the 444 Club. start metal casting. And 3, get my own brand of, start making my own brand of basically pre-cut knives. That way I can mass produce them. I have a few designs I'm working on right now. I need to get them into CAD. And I think that'll be pretty easy for me. And then I have a guy that's not too far from here that has a water jet. And I think if I can get, 2 or maybe 3 designs all put together, get them all water jetted out, I think I could really have a nice quick turnover. And then all I have to do is grind the bevels, which is easy, do the heat treatment, and put on handles and make knife sheaths. But if all of the knives are all the same, that means all of the handles are all the same, which means all of the sheaths are all the same. And I could just acme that shit out. I've had these cookies sitting here and I haven't had one yet. Let's see, Ken, I was thinking about doing aluminum casting. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to start because I have a shit ton of aluminum cans. Now, one thing to remember when you're doing the aluminum casting and everything else is what aluminum are you casting? Because stamped aluminum and extruded aluminum are all different types of aluminum than cast aluminum. So obviously cast aluminum will be the best to work with. I'm doing the lowest grade myself with aluminum cans. Now there's different things you can do to work on that. And remember, you also have to temper your crucible. I got one for free. I don't know if it's already tempered or not. We'll see. We'll see. And you're going to want to have a set of tongs dedicated for casting. Or you're going to want 3 sets of tongs dedicated for casting. 1 to feed it, which could just be regular like barbecue tongs. But don't use the barbecue tongs that you use in your house or on your barbecue for doing the aluminum stuff. It'll fuck everything up and it'll make your food taste bad and your wife will kill you. So, instead of regular metal tongs, you're going to want a set of tongs to remove the aluminum or remove the crucible from the furnace, which is basically just, they look kind of like that. Bonk. You just go in there, clamp, take it out, open the jaws, toss that away, and you're going to want a third, which will go in like that, but one of them has a grabber on the top. So when you go in and grab it and you go to pour, it's not going to slip out. Because I think that would be very funny in a not funny way, having the whole spiel. Dropping a whole crucible full of molten metal, I think would be very funny from about 20 or 30 feet away, and not very funny if you're the one who dropped it. And you're going to want some sort of a small scraper or something on a long handle to take care of all the dross and crap that'll float to the top, clean your metal before you start casting it. But outside of those little tools, it's seems like it'd be something really pretty easy to do. And time to roll out. See you next week. All right, Kenny. Well, you take care. Don't run anybody over if you can help it. Yeah. Drive safe, and hopefully I don't see another video on Facebook of someone running in front of you or driving in front of you and messing up your rig. Take care, brother. So another thing I have to do. What was this? No. Take it. Is I have to buy a new base for my chair. The fix that I had for it took me about an hour to fix the chair, and it broke in about 4. And you can see, like, chair's not supposed to move side to side like that because the pillar is pushed all the way through and is actually resting on the ground about a 1/4 inch below the level of the casters. I've had this chair for, what, 5 years now? So I got 5 years out of it. But I really like the chair. It feels very comfortable. It's all mesh, but it fits my body very nicely. Just the proportions of it, it feels very nice. The only problem is the caster. So I found a few on Amazon that I like. I'm going to do a little bit more research tonight and buy one. But I think I found the one. It's all steel. Nice chrome finish to it. And instead of having the regular shitty rolly casters that come with like every office chair, basically, these use roller skate wheels. So the height differential between this one and that one is the same. However, instead of the legs being more splayed down to give it a higher profile there, they're higher, but the wheels themselves are also taller, so it evens out more or less. So I think that'd make this really nice, you know? But I'm very upset that my little fix didn't work, because I took the time, I got my big clamps, I popped the pillar out of the base, I took my heat gun and I meticulously went through and I heated everything up so it was all almost molten, and I clamped everything back down to fix any gaps, and I was really proud of it. I thought I did a really good job. And then I went back with my soldering iron and I melted all the cracks all the way down from one side, and then I did it all the way to another, so it kind of, the melted areas kind of touched and all congealed, and I stitched everything back together really good. And for about 2 days, it worked nicely. I don't spend much time in my chair. At least I don't spend too much time in this chair. It's not like an office chair where I'm spending, 8-10 hours a day. This I'll spend, 2 hours a night or an hour a night in, just doing a little bit of research, a little bit of design work, or maybe I'll spend a little bit more time if I'm doing some leather work. Just wasn't in the cards, I guess, though. It lasted about 4 hours of use. And I know I'm heavy, but I'm not that heavy. There's also this wonderful product that I really want to play with. It is Faraday fabric, basically. So you can use it in like wallets and stuff to create, RFID blocking, which is nice. So you got that. But because it's metallicized fabric, you also get the other property of it, which is it's electrically conductive. So for some of the helmets and such that I'm working on, I can sew this thin little strip, or glue this thin little strip in and around, and it doesn't wear out like it doesn't wear out under fatigue like regular wire does, especially in bendable and stuff areas. So if I have a helmet and I want to have a larger power source, what I can do is have this like a cowl basically come down and have the fabric in there, and then have the wires or even just more fabric going down to a battery pack somewhere else on the body. But I don't have to worry about it fatiguing under use, because woven into the fabric, I guess it protects or something from the use. The guy was saying it's even Velcro they have that makes this stuff work. Velcro. Metallicized conductive Velcro. Like, how cool is that? So you can literally have a battery pack attached to a thing of Velcro, and you could have whatever you need to power attached to a piece of Velcro, and just and you're done, and it's ready, it's good to go. Like, how crazy awesome is that? That's cool. That's really cool. I think Adam Savage had it on his channel tested. Yeah, but my buddy Jack sent that to me, and I really need to play with that at some point this year. That's going to play into a few of the other projects I have going on. Things I can't really openly talk about right now. But it's got to be cool. Another project I'm working on, I'm starting to figure out details on, are fairy villages for your house. Namely, I want to do kits. I'm going to do them doll scale, which is 1/12 scale, which 1 foot, 1 inch equals 1 foot, which coincidentally in AutoCAD is a very common scale. So I'm easily going to be able to design all this stuff in CAD, and then export it to my laser and cut out these kits. Now, the idea is these things will go up on your walls, and they're kind of like, there's not going to be any, for a lot of it, some of it's going to be like tabs and slots, but by and large there's not going to be any tabs, not going to be any slots. You just kind of place the things where you want and glue it down. And they, go up on your walls, and I'm going to have them pretty modular, so you can easily just build your own fairy village just in the corner of your wall, or across something. You'll be able to put a village in. I think that'll be really cool. A very nice little just embellishment. But I'm going to do it at dollhouse scale. So the more that you want to make it yours, you can go to any hobby center and go into the doll aisle or Amazon or whatever, and if it's regular dollhouse scale, they have a ton of shit all ready to roll out for you. That is all dollhouse stuff. So you can make this little floating village, and you want barrels and stuff. Boom, they got barrels. You want to have chairs on the porch for the fae to sit and have a little bite to eat. Well, guess what? You can just buy those. I think it'd be fun. And I've seen a few things on Etsy that were very roughly, very roughly, kind of that. It's all, they were all very medieval stuff, and there was like full houses that you could laser cut and then like staple to your walls. It's not quite the vibe I'm going for. So yeah, I think up in that corner over there, you can't see it, but up in that corner, it's pretty blank. And I think I'm gonna put like a little village over in that corner, and then maybe have it carry across over the door frame and go into the other corner. And you know, make, you know, different door styles and different porch styles. There's gonna be some staircases that go from one to another. You know, maybe some rope bridges, and maybe even some like rope ladders, and so you could just do all this sort of cool stuff right up in the corner of your room. And you know, if you really wanted to or cared to, then you could take a doll and get a little artsy fartsy with the doll and make it look like one of the Fae. Pop it up in there and, you know, potentially scare the shit out of somebody. Especially if you put like red glowing eye paint on the doll, and you know, you're drinking and they want to stay the night or whatever, and then up and, oh yeah, it's cute, blah, blah, blah. And they go in there, you know, 2 hours later, you know, inside to take a leak, and these red eyes are staring at them. I think that'd be funny. You get a couple interesting reactions out of there. And yes, I am a jackass sometimes. Gotta have fun where you can, right? So that's been the newest idea that's been percolating in my head, is that whole dollhouse thing. I know it's only a couple months, but man, I'm gonna miss cookies. All right, we got 20 minutes left. So let me actually start doing something other than just doing a little chin wag. Shall we? Yes, we shall. Now, I don't know where my tape measure went, but how we're going to run this is I'm going to use my calipers, or sorry, my wing dividers, to get an internal measurement at different points along the this guy, because it's very it's not a tube, it's kind of splayed out a little bit, like a popcorn bucket. And I think if I can get the diameter in like 3 places, because it seems like it's pretty consistent. It looks very consistent. If I'm able to get the diameter in 3 places, I can determine what this angle is, what this slope is, and from there I can figure out how I want to plan my inserts. Because if I have the full slope, it shouldn't matter, you know, if I want to do a short one, you know, I can do 3 short ones, or I can do a short one, a tall one, or 2 tall ones, or whatever. But I can take that information, I can measure my my paint jars and get a pretty good layout. And I think from that, what I'll do is I'll laser cut it, and then each one will have a central pillar that'll be just recessed just a little bit under where the next one comes up. so that the size of the shelf, the size of the tray itself, will kind of fit nicely into that wedged shape. That's my plan. And I know I'm going to have to use like all 3 layers to fit my my brushes in here. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that little conundrum quite yet. But one problem at a time. Yeah? Yeah. And if I do it on the laser, what I can do is label each of those pieces. And in doing so, I can, easily tell, if the labels get mixed up or messed up or whatever, which color I'm grabbing or which color I'm out of or gonna be out of, which brush I'm grabbing, because once the dye dries, sometimes on the paintbrushes the dye dries in a very similar color with mixing with the color of the bristles on the brush. It's kind of hard to tell which one was used for which. And if you grab a brush that has, let's say, green dye, and you're trying to apply red, or black is pretty much just black, but any of those lighter pigments, it's gonna mix and bleed through, and it's gonna look like dog shit. It just is. So I need to be able to find a way to separate each of those brushes and identify which stain or which brush goes with which stain. I think if I do those inserts as lasers, laser cut pieces, I think that'll help really cut down on that little mismanagement. Not mismanagement, misalignment, little faux pas, I guess. But yeah, this thing locks on, which is nice. Little click. So if it falls and some of my stains or paints or whatever does happen to spill, yeah, it would suck, but it wouldn't stain my entire life and pollute the entire house. Plus, some of that stuff really stinks. So, yeah, be nice. And this is kind of a cool looking tin anyways. Right? Right. So, let's get started, shall we? Yeah. Also, in addition to, protecting my life from my own clumsiness and stupidity, my container here will have less brushes in it, which will be nice. I can kind of divest myself of that and not have everything stuck and jammed into one container. And I just burned myself with my candle. Burned out a few hairs. Okay. And no, I didn't even start on the glasses case yet, because I want to get down to the shop, get some neodymium magnets, because I could buy more, but I already have a shit ton, and I think it'd be better just to use what I have first, rather than purchasing a bunch more unnecessary shit. So, wing dividers, put them all the way down. Cool trick with wing dividers. These are ones I got off of Harbor Freight, actually. But if you take the weight off, that ferrule moves nice and easy. And it just barely has threads enough on there to grab. So if you move those pieces, so the split piece here has the thread itself. So when this conical piece goes on top of it, the threads will grab. If you take that off, the threads kind of move freely. Very nice for quick adjustments. Let's see what this runs up as. Five and what was that? 8th or 16th. So this is 16ths here. So we're at what? 5 3/8. So the bottom is 5 3/8. And 3/8 diameter. And since it's so consistent, we could probably just go straight to the top and then get a total depth measurement, I would think. And for this, I can just use this guy here. Huh. 7 inches on the nose. I don't know about you, but I was not expecting this to actually work with imperial measurements. I was expecting to have to go into some sort of, big wonky, over the top, conversion charts and everything else. Measuring in inches, and then measuring in millimeters, because millimeters will probably be what this is built in, and then back and forth and back and forth. But no, this worked out very nicely. 7 inches works out to centimeters? No, that's millimeters. So just under 180 millimeters. And then 5 3/8 is like 137 millimeters, which that seems like a really odd number if they were going to do it in metric. So it must have been done in English, in the imperial. Right, and how deep is this thing? Now that's going to be the hardest thing to grab. Except because most measuring devices don't measure right to the end. There's usually a bit of a gap where there's a blank space. But this square here does measure right to the end. I got 8ths, 16ths, 12ths, and 8ths. One side. So I use the ruler as a stop. And I'll get a central measurement. That's 12. So that's 8. So we're at 7 3/4 deep. We're on a center line here. And while, yes, I know the top of this is domed, I don't think taking that into account will do me any favors. I think, well, yes, I might be able to squeeze another 1/2 inch out of it in the center if I really gave a shit. I think it would just complicate the matters unnecessarily. So we're not going to bother with it. Okay? Okay. Now the biggest thing that I want to organize in my life is my paints and my paintbrushes. These little guys. This is, first off, this is like the best paint I've ever used. It's the Angelus leather paint. It's a flexible acrylic that stays flexible. It has a very high color fastness and opacity to it. Like for the Christmas star I did, for my Christmas tree, I used one coat of silver, and I didn't even give a shit about how well it covered. And if you stand away from it any further than 6 inches, it looks like it's made out of silver foil, which, not too bad, especially considering the fact that you're going to stand much further away than 6 inches from a Christmas tree. So these guys. Now for this, I'll just pop out my calipers because I can. It'll probably be the easiest way to make these measurements. And I understand that this does things in decimal inches as opposed to fractional inches. I prefer fractions because that just makes my life a lot easier. And we're at 2.7, give it a good squeeze, 2.7, yeah, 2.275 inches. Let's call that 2.8 inches, or 2.3 inches. Give me a little wiggle room. So we'll do small. Paint. Equals 2 inches. And those are all the same. And this guy here is a leather paint die, which it works really good. So it's a die and a paint. Very strange stuff to work with. This is 3 inches tall, so 3.03 inches. We'll call that 3.1 inches. This one I'm not really so concerned about. I can just tuck that one away and forget about it. The ones that really need the addressing are these guys. And this is what I'm most worried about. I'll lose the paint, but I'm not worried about the paint. This stuff will pollute your life if it spills. I spilled some of the green and nightmare. So this is 4.168. Let's call that 4.2 inches. Another die. Now, in my eyes, the way to do this, I'll probably put the dies at the bottom, because I don't use that many, first off. In terms of, you know, their composition and everything else, they're usually the largest bottles. I don't have that many of them, so I'm pretty sure I can fit all of them in the bottom. The paint, while I have less paint than I have dye, I'm thinking about expanding my paint collection to make things more robust. So I think getting a collection of my paints and stuff, you know, up higher, I'll be able to fit more of them. And I think that'd be a much better way to store and organize things. I think. I don't know, but I think. And that's my problem, is I think. Anyways, our time is up for this week. So guys and girls, thanks for coming in. Thanks for watching and listening to me prattle on about stuff that has very little significance until it's done. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys coming out. I always have and I always will, even though my audience is usually rather dwindled. Anyways, thanks for watching, and thank you for helping make this world better, one kerf at a time, and I'll see y'all next week.